Check one, check two. How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? There we go. The green screen kicking in. Gotta warm it up a little bit. Over the weekend it gets cold as there's no hot market momentum. Mobile, how you doing today, man? How you doing, Mobile? How you doing on this fine Sunday afternoon? How are you feeling? Peter, what's up? Dash is in the building. Okay, all right. Today we're gonna have another good Q&A session. For those of you in the chat room that left questions behind, the students, we will address those questions. I'll also take questions from the YouTube live stream that's coming in, and we're gonna also have a discussion. We'll talk everything and anything trading, right? When it comes to metrics, charts, scanners, brokers, and so forth, right? We'll also even go over a few live trading examples, depending on how the questions go, and so forth. So, quickly, just remember, it's always good to mention the disclaimer, right, in case there's a new viewer watching on day trading. As you guys know, is risky business, and you got to take it slow, especially in the beginning, all right? And remember, be careful of those fake accounts out there. There's a lot of fake Relentless trader accounts, people pretending to be me. I will never message you first randomly. And remember, I do not use WhatsApp. I do not use Telegram. All those craziness of mirror trading and copy trading does not exist, guys. So remember, always stay safe out there. All right. So let me pull up the Q&A section here. Because we've been getting so many DMs throughout the days, the questions have been slowing down a little bit. Something to actually keep in mind, and we as the mentors, we need to also be a little bit more vocal in telling people that just, even if it's a question that they might think is a little bit smaller or, well, it doesn't matter, right? There's no question that's too silly or anything like that. You want to post everything, right? But yeah, we have to be a little bit more vocal on our side to remind the students to also leave more questions here. Let me just pop out the YouTube chat as well. Guys, hit that thumbs up as you're tuning in. And let's get locked and loaded. So the first question, hey everyone, do you guys think it's possible to hyperscalp with a high ping in the range of 250 to 300 milliseconds? So a high ping, aka basically like a delay. Let's see, mostly wired. I use mostly wired connections. I'm going to be in Asia. Oh wow. So it's going to be pretty far from the exchange. And this is something we don't really think about a lot because we're mostly stationary. For us, even on the team house, we're in the East Coast or West Coast. We're still, on base with high-speed internet, things like that. Not much delay. In fact, I believe Crispy and my latency is maybe like 2 milliseconds. We live so close to the exchange. Crispy looks out his window, he sees the exchange, right? So we're very close. Now, is hyperscalping possible? I think it is. But you do have to account for this, right? It's funny because I just went fishing with Triad, Crispy, and some other guys, and this is something that came up because Triad was thinking maybe he'll go to Thailand at some point, and we'll trade from there. And he knows a few traders who are also living there, and he was talking to them about this delay, and they mentioned it's this kind of thing where it exists, and so you kind of have to adjust your trading accordingly so that it makes sense, right? It's like you're in a quarter second later, half second later. So it's like you have to position yourself properly in certain situations to be successful. The way how you would conduct the trade here, right in New York or, maybe West Coast, you got to make adjustments. You see that breakout coming, if you're usually waiting a little bit for that extra confirmation, you got to buy right away. Or even on the dips, Triad was mentioning that some of these guys, before it really fully bottoms, they actually take the entry, knowing that, hey, that half extra second is going to give them time to be able to, let the stock base out a little more, and then they get filled into the trade. So it's definitely something you got to feel out. Maybe, maybe the first day of trading, you size down a little bit, right? You don't want to go full size. Just kind of get a good feel for it, right? And don't allow FOMO or anything like that to make you rush. This is something I've been thinking about even for myself, right? Don't allow FOMO to make you rush in a situation where rushing is not required, right? Take that time, take that step back, properly address the situation, work out the kinks, and then get back to whatever size is comfortable at that point, or let's just say makes sense, right? So yeah, let's give this a quick check mark here, and let's come on down. What does it mean for my metrics if I'm in a drawdown but still green? Does it mean I don't manage risk? And so in terms of having a drawdown, I think it's actually something that's healthy, right? As long as it's not prolonged. I can even pull up my trader view here quickly. Drawdowns will happen to us from time to time. Even the best traders in the world will have drawdowns a day, a week, even sometimes a month where things just did not go super well for you and you ended up finishing a little red, right? Even Save, one of the team house members, had a red month, I believe, in maybe was it June? I think maybe June or July. One of these last 2 3 months ended up finishing red 7K. But it is this type of thing where trading is hard and sometimes we can be off our game. Sometimes the market can be a little tricky. There's different variables. But the key is to survive the drawdown. And one main way that we like to utilize is to size down. You hear guys like Marcelo mention trader rehab, right? Marcelo's a farmer warrior trading student, right? And so he got mentored by Ross in the very earlys, and I think that's one of Ross's thing is rehab, right? Essentially, sheltering yourself a little bit to make sure that you're not blowing up, that you're not going overboard, and that you're still within the confines of the strategy, right? So it's something that we also do here. Whether you want to call it a rehab or whatever name you can make up for it, I don't know. Um, for me, it's just something that I've always done by, if you want to say, you know, when that, I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but when the red starts to hit and you're really every day, red day, like you kind of feel like you need to build back your confidence. So naturally for me, I would slow things down and stop the bleeding, right? That's the main thing. Can you stop the bleeding? Sometimes we want to just focus on getting one good day. And, you're following all your rules, you're being extremely disciplined. And the good thing with the small size is that even if on one of those days where you're trading to the best of your abilities, the first day of sizing down, you're still red, that red is so small in comparison to your average red days, you gain longevity. You gain time for the market to change over back into a different cycle. The deck is reshuffled. You get another chance to trade some better opportunities. Longevity is the key in trading and especially in a drawdown. If my average red day is $1,000 a day and the markets are super slow, why not size down if I'm going to be red every day for a month? Why not size down to where my red days are so small that on the next week of that next hot cycle, I'm already back at all-time highs. You cannot fall victim to being aggressive or more aggressive in the drawdowns, right? And so if I pull up my records here, let's just pull this up quickly. You know what? I do have to apologize to the audience because I haven't done a monthly recap since July. I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is very unlike me. So reports and then detail. Let's come on down. I still think this new trader view update is a little clunky. Where are we at? Win-loss expectation. And then all the way down here. Can we get a good zoom here? Yeah. So I've had in the beginning of my career, when I went live in May of 2020, coming into October of that year, ended up going down $4,000. And from basically October 26th to was this December 30th, I'm down and sideways. But what I did in this moment, in this time, was to utilize small share size. The market in these few months, not as great for breakouts. And back then, I never really traded the dips as much. you know, breakouts, 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 and breakouts were just struggling so much. They would still happen, but we would see false breakout. Break of 5 goes to 510, 509, and then teleports down to 480. I'm in at 504 thinking, hey, this is gonna go to 15 and then 20, back down on me. So choppy, so tricky. Pastor was going sideways. So size down, and you know what? Things came around. Coming into the new year, people reconfiguring their portfolios, different catalysts, different headlines. Before you know it, I'm back on course. I'm back on track. And you guys can see that my average drawdown has gotten bigger over the years as my share size has gotten bigger. And more recently, and a lot of these right here are like a few red days in a row. Like, down 700, 800, maybe down 1K a couple times in a row. This one here, it was August. No, 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 not August. I don't know, the date is right here. I don't know what I'm trying to guess. May of this year started the first like 7 out of 10 days red. 7 out of 10 days. Usually I'm green 7 out of 10 days. Green 7 days, red 3. And here I am. It's everything flipped out upside down. And it's the same process. All right. I'm losing too much too quickly. And it's strange because the market was kind of hot on the beginning, the first couple of days of the month. Couldn't capitalize, lag in the entries. That was the biggest thing. Like there was lag and slippage was the biggest issue I remember. So it's like, okay, size is not working here. Let's bring it back, and then let's regroup. Remember the foundation of what makes us green. Go back into those markets where you did see better opportunities. Rewatch my archives, Marcelo's, Tim's, Triad. Go watch those archives of better markets when things were hot, to remind yourself of what the hot market looks like, and that what's in front of you right here, right now is just no good, right? A lot of the times that's simply what it is. And then when you see it so clearly, oh my God, this stock went from $9 to $12, and these guys were able to catch the dip and rips and da 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 da. Versus now, the stock is going up 20 cents in 1 hour. It's a massive difference. Even last week was like pretty hot, right? I mean, a lot of us in the Discord, in the chat room and stuff did well. Okay, let's get the check mark here, and then we can come over to the YouTube side of things and continue here. Usually, if there's a lot more questions for MMU, I'll just do the Q&A separately. Like I'll do an MMU Q&A and then a live stream Q&A. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pop out the chat. I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna try to catch up here because I know a lot of you guys probably have been leaving some questions. Did I pop it out already? I think I did. Where is it? Okay, it's right here. Boom. Comic, what's up? 956 Trader is in the building. Do you have a system for increasing your share size? There's two ways of increasing your share size. One, you can do it in increments, or two, you can do it in a bit of a lump sum. If you are going to choose to do it in a lump sum, let's say you go from 50 shares to 500 shares or 1,000 shares, you have to simulate your mind. And what I mean by that is you have to start going through, if you want to say hypothetical trades, like envision, or not even hypothetical trades, but envision the trades that you're taking now with that size, especially when it comes to the end of the day and reviewing. Okay, in the moment you're kind of doing your thing, but when you rewatch your trading, when you study, hey, I took the dip at 445, and I'm out around 460. What would that gain look like if you were in with 500 shares? Start to program your mind to see what the gains and the losses will look like with that share size, to where once you do go for it, there's no guessing, there's no anxiety, there's no nothing except you just understanding what is in front of you, right? Because process over profits, we understand that if you're not quite ready, or if you put too much pressure on yourself, you can fall victim to watching the P&L. Essentially, you're in a solid trade where you're selling too soon because, oh my God, I'm up $100. I've never been up $100 before. Or you're losing in a trade, instead of cutting the loss tightly like you usually would, you end up holding the trade longer, and it becomes into a bigger loss. And and then you start to feel like you're going crazy. So you want to simulate yourself, picture those trades, put that decimal back a point or two, and just envision those winners, envision what a loss would mean, and not only just a regular loss, but to the extreme. Imagine if you do take a great trade and the stock teleports down 90 cents your first day sizing up. How are you going to react to that, right? Because it's like the market sometimes just do these things to you. and, and I'm saying this in this kind of like, figurative way, but sometimes it feels like the market is like calling us out for that one-on-one. Like the market is like, all right, today's the day you want to size up. All right, I got something for you. In your third trade of the day, you started off nicely green. Your third trade, another A quality setup. The stock is down into a halt, and it's like, man, what the heck is going on? This didn't happen in months. You got to be prepared for everything. You don't want to panic. You don't want to, lose control and derail. Friday I ended up rage quitting. I call Friday for me a rage quit because I got so frustrated that I didn't want to have anything to do with trading. So you have to have that line in the sand that you're not gonna ever cross. And I could have came back after a few minutes and I thought about it, but I had somewhere to go. As mentioned, I kind of met up with Crispy and Triad for the weekend. We were out fishing and doing a bunch of stuff. So I ended up just leaving. I didn't want to look at my screen again. Like, you know what? And the reason why I got frustrated on Friday was because my job was accomplished. My goal was accomplished. Get in, get green, get out. You have somewhere to be. And I have this rule though, which is if you're doing well and there's more momentum, continue to go. And so I kind of had like a conflicting interest that day, right? Should I leave because I'm green already? But hey, momentum is here. Like, let's just keep going. But deep down, I was leaning more to, hey, just getting green and getting out. And so when I gave back the profits, like I got more upset than I usually would because of that particular scenario. And it's one of these things where certain outside factors could influence and affect you and how you trade it. So you got to be prepared. And my response was to leave. At that point, okay, you got me, market, you got me, but you're not gonna get me to go red. Took my $200 and that was it. What a day that Friday, man. The market is ultimately the boss here. As much as I would like to be Superman and Green Lantern and some big time superhero Hulk, the market is bigger than I am, and it's bigger than I ever will be. And so my rules are based off of what the market is. And so I cannot ever go against those rules, or else I'm going against the market. I'm going against the strategy. I'm going against discipline. So you got to stay locked in. Let's come up here. So Zay, what's going on? James is in the building. Roller volume is always too low. You know what's interesting with the volume? It is very low. The volume is low, I can't lie. But I'll say this, when I do rewatch the videos of my site, the volume seems pretty decent. But it is low. I'm not going to disagree that it's not. Right now the mic is utilizing like 40% of its actual volume, and it's because I have the mic on this muffled setting so that background noise is eliminated. Now, what I need to do, and this has been a conversation for some time, is to get a better mic. I've kind of been dragging my heels because there's some personal reasons, right? There's some things that I've kind of been, wanting to do that I can't really do yet, because I want to really be honest. I want like a full-on studio, like a full-on, like a better office, right? But it's a conversation for another time. The time is not here just yet. But the first second, the first moment that I'm able to, I will, right? And that time is coming very, very soon, very soon, very, very soon. It's we're working on it. Hit the gym today and just got to my computer to review the week and prepare for tomorrow. Had my biggest green week, record week ever. Record week. Mobile, shout out to you, man. And we know that you're a long-time viewer and supporter. So I'm glad to see that you're doing well. Keep it up. Keep pushing yourself. and continue to expand your horizon, man. Because, in this trading game, we are our biggest strength, and we are also at times our greatest weakness. And so we can never confine ourselves to a certain bracket. We must always remember that we're capable. And, we just have to keep pushing, man. It's never easy. We shouldn't expect it to be easy. So, let's put our head down and keep grinding away. Do you remember the day you turned the corner, Joey? I never had a day that I turned the corner. For me, it was more so of a process. Um, it was this continued effort, this uphill climb of, one day at a time. Okay, study, review, make improvements. Next day, study, review, make improvements, and try to become more refined. And, essentially a year and some change. Well, let's say 2.5 years, really. 2.5 years, including 1 year in a live account, trading 3 times every 5 business days. This year two in the simulator, and the other half year it's still in the simulator, but also saving for my PDT, right? And working with credit card companies and stuff like that to get over the level. I never really had a really aha moment in terms of technicals. If there is something that I could say, it would have to be the day that commissions went away, because before commissions went away, I started trading very actively. I'd already realized I want to be in and out more, right? And not to make the story too long here, but I'd be in trades up 10, 15 cents unrealized. The target, though, is a 30, 40 cent target. Stock never gets there and then flushes down. I'm red. It's like, man, why not just take that 10, 15 cents every single time and try to see how I can, overcome the commissions. And so my next thing was to start sizing up. Like, this is literally the first, like, 2 months of me, like, becoming green, like, gross. Net is with commissions and fees. Green, I became gross. And again, this is all throughout that process of, hey, try to get better the next day. For a year and a half, it's me trying to get better, and I come to the conclusion that I need to take that gain. 1 month into that, the next, like, commissions basically went away. So if you want to say, haha, this is the day I became profitable, you could, but I don't look at it like that. Um, it's interesting. Like, let's say commissions never went away. Like, it would have been interesting to see how it would have played out. I was gonna size up. Like, that was my next thing in the simulator. I was in the simulator at the time. Like, okay, I'm gonna size up to see how well this, like, what type of share size is it gonna take to negate commissions and fees of trading XYZ amount of times in a day. I think I would have became successful regardless of commissions. There's no wall too tall. You guys already know the mindset here. Like, there's nothing. There's no wall too tall. There's no mountain too high. Whether commissions or broker, this, that. Like, there's nothing that can prevent us from becoming what it is that we have to become to be successful. So whether that would have worked or not, or something else, we would have been in the grind for sure. Yeah. Let's see. What up? What up? Da, 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 da. Dash. Goodness. This month, I've been having a lot of red days. Do you have any tips for reducing the amount of red days, or just to keep the red days smaller? Big Steve said something that made a lot of sense on Friday. It was a bit of a blunt statement, but I think I don't know if someone asked him, like, how to avoid flushes or something. I don't know if someone asked him that, but I saw the statement, and it was like, try not to buy in areas where it's just too high risk. And sometimes I fall victim to that. Like, there's trends. Sometimes things will work very consistently. Other times they won't. And you got to be able to know, okay, this trend is working or this trend is not. And sometimes we can end up being red by simply buying in the wrong areas, right? And talking under the confines of understanding what the strategy is and where we should be looking to get in and out, right? Because we're always trying to be in an area where the downside risk is, tight or limited, and there's a good chance that we can get a higher move, right? Upside potential. And so if I'm buying in sometimes when I rewatch these videos, I ask myself, what the hell was I thinking buying there? Like, it's like I deserve to take the loss. This is how we have to look at it, right? If we're making the mistakes is what really leads to the losses. Yes, there's going to be trades where it's a great trade that, it kind of comes down or whatever. But majority of the time, it means that we are kind of buying in the wrong place, right? Versus what the strategy is. And so studying up, reviewing, rewatching your film, and then not only that, but actively looking to improve. This is where you have to want the smoke, right? Dash, I don't know. Well, I can't remember which state you're. I did talk to you so many times, but I can't remember which state that you're in. But you got to want the smoke, right? In these situations, right? And what that means here in the streets, right? The street lingo is you got to look forward to the opportunity of being better next time, right? You got to look forward to that challenge, look it into the eye, and say, all right, next time I'm going to fight against the urge of doing anything that is not in the essence of discipline. I'm going to fight against the urge of repeating the same mistake, right? So if you notice anything in your trading that's like a flaw, tomorrow the market is going to present a same situation, a similar situation where you have to make that decision, right? So if you can recognize it in your trading, in your reviews, you look to apply and make the positive change the next time around, and that's how you become more refined. And then you keep you keep looking for these flaws, and you keep improving slowly but surely. It doesn't have to be 1 week, 1 month. It can be the course of a year or two, but you'll see that you start to become more consistent, right? Because you're becoming more consistent with yourself. As a result, you're becoming more consistent with the strategy, and you're seeing more consistency in your P&L, right? This trading thing is interesting, man. It's like it's a lot of it is really us versus ourselves. Some people might hear that and might not understand it. It might sound so strange, and I can definitely understand, right? But a lot of it is how consistent can we be with ourselves, you know? Like I still make a lot of mistakes. I still make a lot of mistakes to this day as my nose is blocking up. Here, let me grab some paper towel. The AC is booming. Yo, Big Steve, man, we got to get you on one of these Q&As, even if it's audio only. Big Steve, I can FaceTime Big Steve right now. Maybe he can answer one question for the people. Thoughts. Okay, let's see. Thoughts on tomorrow's market, red or green, because of war. Well, is there? I haven't. I was fishing yesterday. Well, Friday and Saturday I was out fishing, and I just got back in last night. And there's been, let's just, I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but let's just say there's been some issues around the house, right? So all day I've been busy, right? I've been busy, and only now I'm kind of coming back in to touch base. I did listen into one of the guys I watch, but it was more like Nvidia earnings coming up, things like that. Not anything specific in terms of like geopolitical. So if there's like a new conflict, I'm unaware, and so I wouldn't be able to really speak on that. But we'll see how the market does. I'll never give predictions. I'm not an advisor or analyst. I don't know what the market is going to do in terms of like spy. Um, but for small caps, it definitely seems like things are picking up. Um, it seems like the Fed's getting ready to start lowering rates. So we'll see if more volume continues to come into the small cap land because of that. But yeah, it's also an election year. These conflicts are so interesting, man. There's so much to it that I don't understand. So it's very difficult to really talk on it, right? Right? Whether it's like Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, you really need somebody who's pretty versed in economics, um, to really come and speak. And I know somebody, but to get him, they like, come on here. That in itself, he's a pretty busy guy. Anyhows, let's come on down. Did your family support you before you were profitable, or were they negative? This is a great question. Um, yes, yes, but there was a lot of skepticism, and I think some of it is warranted. And it's not that, it's not that these individuals would not want to see you do well, because I'm pretty sure for every entrepreneur that tells their family or their relatives that they're taking a career change, there's risks. Whether it's a husband telling a wife, a son telling a mother, or whatever the scenario might be, right? There's risk, especially if you're head of household. Imagine if you're head of household and it's like, hey, I'm gonna go leave this to try and do such and such, right? Because there's an opportunity cost. Time that you're spending doing one thing is time that you're not spending doing something else. So there was some skepticism, and because these individuals want to see you do well so bad, there's a little bit of fear, right? Like, and also when it comes to the norms and the traditions, you know, I mean, even sometimes to this day, I could probably still hear, I could be a nurse, right? Because for the older mindset, that's such a like a consistent career, right? Like there's always gonna be sick people, there's always gonna be jobs, but at the end of the day, you are the master of your own fate, right? You and God, you and if you're for those people who are religion, if you're not religious, doesn't matter, right? It's up to each and for each their own. But you're the master of your own fate, right? You and the person you worship. And so I'd like to say, as long as you're doing things in a responsible way, that you got to do what you think is in your best interest. No one else can see what you can see in your mind. And some people might even think that you're insane for thinking the way that you think. And that's fine. That's what it means to take on risk. When you look at these careers like in the health industry, the RNs, the surgeons, and so forth, they have risk too. It's not that they don't have risks. They have risk when there's monkeypox, Ebola, COVID-19. These people have to go essentially fight against, you know, these viruses. And so they're putting their lives on the line. I'm pretty sure so many, people in these fields might have passed away just from their exposure to being so close to the patients and the sickly. I know that I spoke to, I mean, I've talked to a few people, right? I've talked to a few people who've been in this field. Sometimes they become pretty desensitized to like, people passing away and these type of things, but all these things can take a toll on you mentally, right? They work a lot of hours, they're on their feet all day. So a lot of them feel like they're underpaid, and some of them are. Some RNs are only making $30 an hour, depending on the location, right? Um, there's always pros and cons to different careers and fields, but for sure in the beginning, what I did was very egregious and aggressive. I was studying at Rutgers University here in New Jersey, and I had a 3.6, 3.7 GPA at the time. I think I only needed like two more semesters or three. I think like three more semesters. Three more semesters. I was studying accounting, and for somebody who was having straight A's, like people couldn't understand why in the world would I just up and leave school like overnight, basically. And it took me 3 months to really make the decision, but was it aggressive? For sure. But I think what allowed me to make that decision was the fact that I was just going to school to go to school's sake because that's all I heard, which is go to school, get a good job, and kind of be like a secure person, like to where I could support myself. And I chose accounting out of all the majors because 97% of accountants graduating from Rutgers at that time would find a job within the first 3 months. That's the only reason I even chose accounting. So like, there was no passion, there was no desire. There was just me being a robot, just kind of just doing everything, because and, and I get it, right? Hey, especially as a man, you have to be able to support yourself, potentially support a family at some point. You know, these are all things that make sense. But I I just couldn't see myself doing it. And I saw what I see what the I saw what the future would look like for me, right? Because I have relatives. There's people who I know who are in these careers, and I see how they live every day. But you know what? The number one thing that influenced me, I think, was when I first came to America, there was a show called Teen Cribs, MTV Teen Cribs, and I used to love watching this thing, man. They would have the young teenagers in the house show off the parents' estate and the mansions, and This was like the coolest thing I ever saw. Like, you know, my father, he was an entrepreneur in South America, and in the earlys he was able to do well for himself. Right, this is back like in late 1990s, early 2000s, and it's like there's a little bit of that, and then there's also coming here and then seeing people like this showing off these big mega mansions, and the number one thing in the career field of the parents who own the properties, they were either high level doctors or overwhelmingly entrepreneurs. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was back then, but all you would hear is entrepreneur. I think one time I asked my aunt, like, what's an entrepreneur? And she's like a businessman, a businesswoman, like somebody who owns a, you know, company and assets and all these type of things. But yeah, she's like a businessman and a businesswoman, right? Now I know what an entrepreneur is. And it's like seeing how these relatives are living, they're very comfortable. I can't say that they're not comfortable. They're very comfortable. Retired individuals. They can go anywhere on the planet that they want. They can come back to a nice house. But I don't know, man. Like seeing myself living like that didn't seem like I would have been satisfied. Like I just saw it and I wasn't interested in like being an accountant. Like 90 grand a year, 100 grand a year. It's like I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to take on some sort of risk and essentially own my own estate one day. You know, interesting stuff. What if a different channel was on the TV? What if a different channel was on the TV? Just like that, you guys would have never known me. You guys would have never known Relentless Trader. I would have been somewhere at like Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs or one of these companies probably. What was that one called? Like Price Water? Price, I don't know. I'd have been somewhere doing something. And my college experience, I didn't enjoy it. My college experience was strictly business. High school, I was like a class clown and all that. Lower GPA. College was just the books. Like I'd be in the library till 10, 11 p.m. Like just straight books. Like just and that gave me confidence too because what it told me, right? Because my grades, I remember 4 years of high school, my grades are mediocre. Senior year, I kind of pull things up to like a 3.0 GPA. But coming into college and like starting fresh and like basically straight A's, what it told me is that you can improve in anything. As long as you're able to put in the effort, be consistent, be disciplined. It doesn't guarantee success, but you can improve, right? And I think school was like the last thing that I needed to conquer to like really believe in that mindset, because I did it in everything else. In sports, you started off not knowing anything in soccer to becoming, better in gaming, and in a lot of small things like track and field, writing, learning how to write a proper essay. It's like, all these small things. To this day, one thing I gotta still do is I think to become like a better reader. I think I need to become a better reader is one thing I'm gonna have to do at some point. My reading is, it's abysmal, mediocre at best. The good news is though that they say in this country, as long as you have a third grade reading average, you can become president. That's a joke, and that's not a shot at Trump, but that's a joke, right? Okay. Anyhow, you guys know I gotta make a few jokes on here, right? Can't be too serious all the time. Politics, I tell you. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did call Schwab. I did call Schwab. So I made a recap, and the recap was muted for 20 minutes. Recap was muted right here. Just in case you guys think I might be lying. The pastor never lies. This recap was muted, man. Me going over everything, talking about the Schwab trade, everything, entries, exits. This kind of drained me because I needed to go to the gym this day. This was Wednesday. And then, you come to the end and only to realize that the entire thing is muted. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do another one. I did another one. I was exhausted, is what happened. Take two. See, okay, listen to that. Take two, right? All right, take two. Guys, I just did a 20-minute recap only to find out that the mic was turned off. So hit that thumbs up. And all right, take two. Guys, I just did a 20-minute recap only to find out that the mic was turned off. So hit that thumbs up and let's jump into it. We're going to go straight into it. So I did a second recap, and unfortunately, I went up to my third monitor and I left the thing up there for like damn near the entire recap. Once I saw that, I couldn't, like, and this happened to me before at least 4 or 5 times throughout the years. Ah, a lot. 4 out of the 5 times I did a third recap. This time I couldn't do it, man. I had to go. I had to get out of here. Can someone be profitable trading only the first 2 hours of open? Yeah, of course. Let me show you my metrics for the first 2 hours of the open. Where's trader view? Yeah, you can definitely be profitable. In fact, the first 2 hours of the open is typically the hottest part of the entire day. Power hour sometimes hot. Some days we'll see sporadic momentum, maybe 1 p.m., 12 p.m. But typically the first hour and a half, first 2 hours is where we're seeing the most consistent amount of hot market momentum. So let's see. I think detailed. Oh no, we just got to come down to day and time. Let's come down to day and time. Performance by hour of day. So you guys can see that I barely trade pre-market, and in fact, some of this is when I was on West Coast time, but majority. And can we do by 15 minutes? Where's that thing? I can't even remember how you do it. Oh, it's right here. 15 minutes. So 9:30, right? 9:30 onwards. This is 9:30 to essentially 9:45. So just between in the first 15 minutes, you can see that most of my profits come in the first 15 minutes. Then from 45 to 10, and then from 10 to 10:15. Oh man, I would wish Power Hour was as hot as the open, man. I would never miss anything from 2 p.m. to 4, but sometimes it's really hot and then sometimes there's just nothing. And only up until last week we really started seeing more Power Hour momentum. We'd have to go back maybe till February to see some power hour, but we're mostly green throughout every point of the day. But definitely the first hour or two is the bulk of the profits. Performance by day of the week. Most trading holidays are on Mondays, but Mondays are still doing pretty well. Friday surprisingly kind of lagging, but Thursday leading the way. I think we might have had that 26K day on a Thursday, perhaps, but fairly even throughout. Trade distribution. Surprisingly, most of my trades are on Tuesdays. Wow, by a large margin too. 12,500. And Tuesday is not the biggest day. This is not good. This should be the biggest day here. If there's 2,000 more trades or 1,500, well, 11,000 to 11, 10,000, 10,009. Man, wow. These are the entire metrics here. Largest loss. Oh man, before this, my largest loss was like maybe 1,600. On this day, it was one of those 50-50 decisions if I wanted to buy the dip. The dip was close to the halt down. We dipped so much, man. That stock had no business still dipping. This thing dropped like $2.50, and there's like another 25 cents or maybe like 20 cents between us and the halt down. I'm like, yes, great dip. Time to buy and time to see a 50-cent, maybe dollar share bounce. Anywhere between 50 cents and a dollar share, my target. Instead, this thing collapses into the halt down. Halted down for 10 minutes and then resumes $1.70 plus or something like that lower. And to make matters worse, I think it was a resumption that went down in the first place. I told myself to use smaller size and I didn't. So there were certain things that kind of went wrong that made me lose this type of money in one trade. But I was down like 5,000 on that day before ending like down 2,400 or something, or maybe 3,000, I think, something like that. But very, very tough loss, man. But I think pretty soon we're gonna get winners bigger than this. But it goes hand in hand, right? You're in big size, you catch one of those big squeezes up a dollar a share, you can make like 10, I can see myself making like like 8,000 in one trade. But for sure there can be days where I'm in that type of size and it goes down just as much, right? Part of the deal. And these mosquitoes, they got me because I was outside for a little too long without the long sleeve. Even my legs, man. Those mosquitoes, I tell you. Total fee is 16,000, right? And I think we can start to look to wrap it up here if there's nothing else coming in. I went to Rutgers too. Rutgers. There's a lot of good schools. But for sure, if you're going to go to any one of these schools, man, for those people who are younger, I think living on campus is definitely the way to go. I commuted. Commuting, you don't really get the full experience. You got to live on campus. I spoke with Enzo. Is one of the students in the MMU who he's graduated now, of course, right? But back in his younger days, he was telling me about his college experience. He had a good time. Software engineer, getting it done, graduated, doing well. NYU. Do you believe that stocks with 1 cent spreads are easier? I don't think that the word easier really exists in the market. They're both just as they let's put it like this. They both can offer just as much opportunity and an equal amount of risk. I've made lots of money on tight spread stocks, big spread stocks, and then vice versa. Now, what I will say is that when there's a 1 cent spread, when it comes to utilizing market orders, it can incentivize us to be a little bit more aggressive simply because there's no risk of being filled high on the ask, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that the stock is easier to trade because we've all ended red on a stock with tight spreads before, right? Or even on a penny stock where there's less than a 1 cent spread. So you still have to be disciplined. You still have to look for those key areas to be in, tight risk, whether it's a breakout or a pullback entry. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've made the most money on stocks between 5 and 10 that has been very volatile, right? So stocks where we can go from 5 to 6, or let's say from 7 to 8 or 9 to 10 and back down and back up, versus between 1 and 5. Um, with the, oh my goodness, it's like five. I'm feeling like 5 bumps, man. I was only out there for like 10 minutes cleaning out the trunk. Anyhow, back to what I'm saying here. I'm losing my train of thought. Not good. What was the question? Oh yeah, the spreads. But yeah, we've all kind of lost on some and made on some. But yeah, between 1 and 5, I'd have to use more size to potentially see more of a gain, because the range between 5 and 10 is just sometimes that much more. You know, you can see a 50 cent, 60 cent move easier, let's say, because of the range. Or let's not use the word easy, but you can see it more often versus a $2 stock going from 2 to 216. I'd have to use 3, 4 times the size right there to maybe get a similar trade that I could get with 2,500 shares making 50 cents, right? So I'd have to be in maybe 10K shares and capturing that entire 15, 16 cent move. And so there can be more risk in that aspect of using more size if it fails, things like that. So again, it's not that one is easier, but we just have to be disciplined, prepared, and know that, and this question kind of reminds me of when people ask of, hey, which pattern do you think is the best pattern or the easiest pattern? They're all just as good and they're all just as risky. It just depends on the variables. There are certain trends. Like there's days where the first candle to open just goes up, the opening surge. On those days, those moves are so strong and so fast. They go into a halt up, they all open up higher. It's like, you might say, oh man, this is the best strategy in the world. But then there's days where the stock opens up and then flushes down, right? Just as hard. And then there's no red candle for 20 minutes, or no green candle for 20 minutes straight. There's days where halt resumptions are great. There's days where halt resumptions are blazing us. We get filled high, we blink, the stock is down $1 a share. We're down 1,500. You might see a guy like Tim or Marcelo say, hey, down 5K to start the day. It's part of the deal, right? They're all just as risky. They're all just as good. Just depends on what's available, what's working, and so forth. How did the moment felt when trading clicked and you became green? How were the emotions? Pretty steady for me. I've never really been. I don't know. It's so strange. Like I'm definitely happy. I'm proud of what I've been able to do here. Um, it's incredible, right? With the community, the trading, the gains, the team house, MMU, the students, the social medias, everything has been so positive. There's been a lot of growth all around. We've been able to help out so many people. And I'm definitely proud of that. But it seems like what makes me more happy is improving and just doing more. It's strange. It's such a strange thing. It's strange, man. A couple of years ago, I would have thought that if I was at this level and to never even go beyond this level alone, that, I'd be so, if you want to say satisfied, I don't know if that's the word. I don't know. But it seems like, and it's this thing, right, where I don't, it's like ambition. And some people can confuse it with greed, right? But we're not greedy individuals here, right? In fact, we're pretty fair. We're very fair. But I'd say, that ambition, that drive to just become a better version of myself once again, that's what's gonna make me, more happy to know that I've overcome once again. Because my trading is not perfect. I'm not the best salesman. I'm not the best YouTuber that I can be, and not in comparison to anyone else, but for what I can be. I'm not the best for what I can be in all those aspects. And so there's work to be done. And then, in another 5 years, I'll look back at this conversation and I'll be proud of where I am then, right? So, no regrets, right? As long as we're giving it our all, I don't think we're gonna ever have regrets. Are you single or single engaged? Um, do I want to talk? Do I want to get into the personal stuff? What? Probably not. Let's just say the pastor is a bachelor right now, single man. We'll just keep it like that. Nothing more, nothing less. Please. How long can you trade continuously while still making good decisions? I feel like my decision making skills decline after about 3 hours. This is another great question. Um, I can go the distance. Let's say I can go to the. I usually will trade 2.5 hours. 9:30, 11:30, 12 p.m. But I can go all the way till 4 o'clock if I'm stimulated. If there's action, if there's play. Like what I despise is waiting there for 3 hours for something to move. If is this opportunity cost? And I think there's no wrong answer, right? If you think that in the time that, let's say in the 3 hours that you could have been waiting there, waiting there where nothing happened, you could have been doing something else that could, it doesn't necessarily have to yield a better reward, but can be an investment or just something productive, right? And you decide to leave and not come back to the market, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Especially if this is also aligning with your goals. But also on the other hand, and there's individuals like a few that comes to mind, Cactus Rob, Kitty. There's a few traders who they do. It seems like, and I could be wrong, because you're not living with that person in that house, but it seems like these guys do not move. It seems like from 9 to 4, they will not move because every time I come back and look back at the chat, if something happened randomly at 2:48 p.m., they caught that move or they were at least watching at it. They were there, right? They traded it, whether they made money or lost. They were there and present. And if you wait 3 hours and the stock gives a good 3 minute window where it's really strong and you do well, we know how much money we can make in a short amount of time once we are consistently profitable. So even if it takes 4 hours for you to add an extra $300, 500, 1,000, $50, whatever it might mean for each of us individually, I don't see anything wrong with that. So depending on which side you're on, as long as it's all within the interest of your goal and your plans. But for me, as long as there's action, I can trade. I can trade, but if things get slow, I find myself I don't want to say boredom trades, but these stocks have a way of sometimes looking decent and then nothing happens. And you can find yourself chopping around and your mental capital starts to wear out and you know. In terms of taxes, I think there's a tax question that I might have missed. Yeah, what services do you use to file your taxes? So I have an accountant. Don't worry. The pastor is the most transparent trader. I don't gatekeep. If I'm giving away my strategy, come on now, right? I just missed this question. But anyhow, in terms of taxes, I I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. Not a CPA. But what I can say from my experience, I see working for myself and also others is, of course, trading under some sort of entity, right? A business in America. This is general. I feel very confident to say this because this is very general information in this country. This country does cater more towards businesses in terms of incentives, tax incentives, write-offs. So trading under an LLC can definitely allow you to save more money on taxes when it comes to, you know, this field, right? Things that you can write off, and these are surface level. It can definitely get more complicated and different depending on the individuals, if they have other business, blah blah blah. But that's things that can come to mind right away: subscriptions, chat room services, softwares, platform, well, certain types of platforms, right? Um, Scanners, things like that. These are things that can be written off versus your income, lowering your taxes. Also, uh, you know, if you have an office space, right? Whether you're using a separate room, a basement, a garage, there's a certain amount of square footage that could be written off, versus your rent, your mortgage. But of course, you want to discuss these things with a CPA, right? Your state, different states have different laws and rules. Um, I'm not sure how things work outside of the U.S. In terms of some of the UK traders, but definitely here in the States, you want to consult with a professional, because each state is almost like a different country, right? The way how the laws and rules will differ, not just with trading and taxes, but so many other different things, right? Like even a gun, carrying weapons, concealed carries. Some states you have your gun on your hip, other states you try that, you get arrested, right? So you have to consult with professionals for that particular location. But yeah, definitely trading under an entity can help you save in some ways. And there's different types, right? As you guys know, there's LLCs. Um, I'm not sure if anybody's ever trading under any sort of partnerships, but there's S corps. There's also tax deferred accounts and reduced, like IRAs. Um, what's the other one called? Roth IRAs. Yeah, Roth IRAs, traditional. Geez. Let's just say Roth IRAs, right? I'm forgetting what the other one is called. But yeah, there's different things that you can do to help save with, on trading gains. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. There's also those other factors, right? Like married, single, kids, things like that. But yeah, people don't usually talk about taxes. But for me, like everything I just said there is like you go on Google and type that in. Like, why do I need to hide that from people? In terms of like setting up an LLC, in terms of setting up an LLC, I think definitely, of course, as you start to become profitable, is something that you can do if you didn't already. If you're not like, if you're in the learning curve, I don't think it's necessary. If you want to do it, you can. Some places it may be free. Some places it might, there might be some sort of fee or whatever. But it's a lot of these things are applications. They're applications, and you can always do your research, right? Would I move to Puerto Rico for the benefits? I definitely would. I definitely would. Um, but before I would ever do something like that, I'd have to make sure that I understand fully what I'm getting myself into. Because I'm pretty sure there's pros and cons to everything, right? And I'm pretty sure there's a criteria that needs to be met before you can, be able to do it. And surface level things that I'm not sure if it's a complete fact or not, but I've heard you have to stay there for at least half the year, things like that. You might need to own property, some sort of real estate. I'm not sure if there's a specific value in the amount that you need to own. But again, I'd have to do my research on that, consult with professionals before I'd ever consider making a decision like that. But definitely, man, you get to a point where, here's the thing with taxes, right? I think taxes are not a bad thing per se, right? But how the tax money is being utilized. Okay, they say vote. It's like I could go vote Democrat, I could go vote Republican, but it's like still these. It's like it doesn't matter. It's like the government, the country, these people are still gonna do what they think is in our best interest, not what I think is in my best interest. You know, and I again, I mentioned this a little earlier. I'm definitely a little ignorant when it comes towards you know geopolitical issues and what needs to be conducted for us to stay safe and all. But I'm against all wars. I think wars are nonsense and shouldn't happen, right? But maybe it's more complicated than that. And again, it's hard to speak on these things without knowing fully what really transpires and what causes these things, right? But even on a lower level than that, right? If you even come down from like geopolitical stuff and like politics, like there's certain government agencies, uh, DMVs in certain areas, these certain places that are just nightmares. I mean, even like the IRS, like it's pretty bad how long they take with these things and how much they're backed up. It's like these people, they work with no incentive. There's other businesses and companies. I'm not gonna say any names, but there are people that are just collecting the taxpayer dollars that are just not working at all, literally. And I don't believe in like slaving away, but an appropriate amount of work that's fair, so society can function. But I've seen things to where it's like, why am I paying for this? Why am I paying for this? Why? And then another issue is that the government is not really super transparent all the time. So you know, I guess whoever knows knows. But yeah. Okay, we're gonna end it off here. We're gonna end it off here. Do I execute with Dash or Thinkorswim? I execute with Thinkorswim. I think the DAS Trader connection, it might have been in like beta or something. Honestly, I haven't been following up with it because I haven't been executing there. It's really great for pre-market, to be honest, with the offsets and maybe bigger spread stocks from time to time. But I execute with Thinkorswim. I do have DAS there if I ever need to or want to use it. But yeah. All right, guys, take care, stay safe, stay green. Tomorrow, let's be sure to study up. Let's review. This is a Q&A. Sometimes we end up reviewing as a part of these because certain questions might ask about technical trades and we'll pull up an archive and study up. But I'm still going to do my own personal review, which is between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. tonight. I'm going to be on my laptop and I'm going to be watching archives. I'm just going to be watching archives of Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, just going over trades, going over key areas, seeing what I could have done differently, just to refresh my memory on those days and come in with a good game plan for tomorrow. Be aware of areas I need to watch out for and avoid in terms of the risk, and see what I need to continue to push forward on and double down on it to the good side and the green side, the good trades, the winning trades, so that tomorrow we can ensure another successful day. All right. But it's been a good year. I still have been mentioning this to people that we only now started making money, right? Just about last year, really. It's been a good year. We're definitely coming up here nicely, approaching a nice 200K, nice 200K on the year, and we have more time left, right? Last year we did 175. This so far we're at 196. September, October, November, December, we still got a quarter and some change. So, let's continue to be disciplined traders. Let's keep that positive mindset. Even if you're someone who's been struggling this year, even if you've been in the red, let's continue to stay positive and let's continue to do all the necessary things that it takes to improve. All right. Let's screen record our trades. Let's review every night. Let's, even if it might mean paying for a scanner, paying for a level 2, joining the course, right? Whatever it might mean for you to become better, right? Invest into yourself, invest into your education, invest into your equipment. It doesn't have to be all at once, but slowly. For me, it was a definite process, right? Getting my desk, getting my chair, the monitors, the mic, this, that, the keyboard, the DAS Trader platform, right? Let's do everything that it takes to become better. Invest into yourself, invest into your trading business, because ultimately this is a business for all of us. Invest into your business and do all the small things. Go to sleep on time, wake up early, go through your morning routine. Don't just wake up at 9:25, 5 minutes before the bell, but wake up early. Give yourself time to do good pre-market analysis. All the small things that it takes to get to the prize in the end. All right. So let's do what's necessary to ensure success. Remember, if you can see it in your mind, you can definitely hold it in your hands. And so I'm seeing nothing but progress in my mind, and I know over time I'll be holding it in my hands. It's just a matter of time. And so let's continue tomorrow again, bright and early. Stay safe, stay green. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys soon. And you know I'll be looking for that nice big green. All right, take care. It's been Relentless Trader, your favorite YouTuber. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. Check out those links down below. And we're out like salt.